I'm happy to introduce our next speaker. Dr. Sophie Godley joined the Boston University School of Public Health faculty in July of 2010. She previously was an adjunct faculty member in the Department of Community Health Sciences, where she taught courses on adolescent health and sexual health. Sophie has been working in the field of public health since 1993, and her areas of expertise include implementing science-based prevention programs and incorporating popular media into public health education. Currently, Sophie teaches Introduction to Public Health for undergraduates and courses in the maternal and child health concentration, including safer sex in the city, from science to policy, and women, children, and adolescents public health approaches. We're glad to have you here, Sophie.
Good evening. It's lovely to see you all. Hi. I recognize some of you, which is very nice. So we're going to just slightly change topics. And I want to talk with you about some observations that I have been privileged to make in my career supporting young people, supporting parents, and supporting schools around educating young people about sex and sexuality. So adults are absolutely terrified of adolescent sexuality. And it's really weird because all adults were adolescents at one point in their life, which, if you think about it, maybe explains their fear. Maybe they remember what it felt like to literally wake up one morning and have a body part that you didn't have before. Or have a body part that now has a new activity list that previously it was really just a non-functioning body part, or it kind of had one function, but it was not that interesting, right? So perhaps that's where the fear comes from, that they really do remember what that felt like to go through that transformation of little kid one day to suddenly having all of these feelings and all these abilities that you didn't have before. So, do you all remember? Do you remember that moment when you first felt those sexual feelings, that awakening? So, for most of us, that awakening happens in early adolescence. Our bodies start to change. We have these things we didn't used to have. We have things that do things that they didn't used to do, fluids that appear that didn't used to appear. And right at that moment, all of our hormones in our bodies are making us feel powerful and curious and irritated and excited and sad and all of these things like really, really quickly, right? And so we take all of those feelings and all those emotions and all those questions and we land in high school sex ed. And I think most adolescents in high school sex ed have two overwhelming feelings. One is incredible curiosity, like a dying urge to know every single thing about your body and how your body works, and perhaps more importantly, about other people's bodies and how they work, and how perhaps your body and their body could work together. And your second burning desire is, please God, don't let anyone look at me or talk to me. And so you get there, and there you are at this sort of miraculous moment in your development, this miraculous moment in your life. And what do these trusted adults do? They lie. They start lying to you. And they don't do it, I have come to believe. Okay, when I was like in my early 20s, just last year, I thought they were evil. I really did. I saw the world, I think, a lot more black and white. And I really thought a lot of these adults who were lying in sex ed classes were just really terrible people. And I don't think that anymore. I think they are well-intentioned, but it doesn't make what they do any less wrong. So what are those lies that they start telling you? I could give like a 3-hour talk about all of the lies, but I've picked just a few of kind of my favorites to share with you tonight. So lie number 1, you will know almost immediately if you have a sexually transmitted disease, because your penis will turn green and it will start sort of sliding off of your body. Or your vulva, which they call a vagina, but is really biologically, we should actually be calling it a vulva. Your vulva will turn deep, dark purple with these terrible growths that would make it impossible to walk. So no, unfortunately, that's not true. The other lie that corresponds with that is that you would know immediately if your sex partner has one of these sexually transmitted diseases, because during the pre-sex inspection that all high school students engage in, you would notice the green and the purple and the colors, and you would be like, wow, I don't want to put my body anywhere near that. Most sexually transmitted infections have absolutely no symptoms. If we were to show you a picture of a sexually transmitted infection, it would be a healthy penis. It would be a healthy vulva, a pretty pink one, you know, or a lovely brown penis, right? So why do they tell you that? Did they tell you that because they want you to be ashamed of your body? Do they tell you that because they want you to be fearful and then not act on those feelings that you're having? So it's a lie. The only way to know that you have a sexually transmitted infection is to get tested for a sexually transmitted infection. Yeah, so that's lie number 1. Okay, so lie number 2. The pill is really, really good birth control for adolescent women and for young adult women. That's a lie. The pill is really annoying. The pill requires you to do a couple of things that most adolescents don't really like doing. One is that you have to do the same thing every day, sometimes at exactly the same time. Most adolescents that I know cannot accomplish this, right? Secondly, it's physical. It's a thing that you have to carry around, right? That has your name on it because, thirdly, it's a prescription. So you have to go to a doctor and get a prescription, which means that it might get back to your parents that you are on birth control because your insurance company will send a little notification that says, oh, your lovely daughter was in getting the pill. So the pill is not good birth control for adolescent women and young adult women. And there's much better birth control out there. Way better, way easier to use, way less disruptive, way more fun. And we could do a whole top 10 list of awesome birth control methods. But go to health services if you want to figure that out, and they can help you find alternative methods for birth control that are so much better than the pill. Which leads me to the third big lie of high school sex ed. So while they're telling you about the pill, they're also doing something else, which is that they're making an assumption about everyone who's in their audience. And the assumption is that every single person in that high school sex ed class is straight. And so here's the lie that they tell you about queer kids in high school. They don't say anything. They don't say anything at all. They don't tell young boys what they might want to get up to with other boy body parts. They don't tell young girls what they might want to get up to in a safe and respectful and loving way with other girls. They don't tell anybody that it's incredibly normal, and I really hope this isn't the first time that any of you are hearing this, but if it is, God love you, come see me afterwards, that it's super normal for everybody at some point in their life to think, no matter what your sexuality ends up being, that you're sort of curious about what it is that they're doing over there, right, in that other club. So it's dangerous when they don't tell the truth about what gay and lesbian teenagers might want to do, because where do they go if they're not going to get that information from their high school sex ed class? So they tend to go two places. None of you ever did this. I'm absolutely confident of it, which is to Google the words teen sex, right? So if you Google the words teen sex, it will lead you almost directly, like within, I don't know, 0.2 seconds, to 6 million porn sites, right? Where you can hear another whole set of lies about what sex and sexuality will look like. Okay, lie number 4. Only gay men engage in anal sex. No. The very best data shows us that lots of people across the sexuality spectrum engage in anal sex. So we should probably be talking about that, right? We should probably be telling people how to think about that, or how to conceive of that, or what to say if they don't want to do that, or how they might do it in a way that doesn't hurt, or in a way that feels okay, or in a way that feels awesome, and why we're so judgy-judger about that, given just how many straight couples actually do engage in anal sex. It's like one of those big lies that we all somehow have engaged in and believe in, okay? It's like we think anal sex is contagious, and if we tell you about it, all of a sudden, you're gonna know about this thing that previously you'd never heard of before, right? So yeah, that's kind of a problem. Okay, I'm gonna hurry up. So I have more, but let me tell you another one of my favorite ones, that there's sperm in pre-cum. No, there is not sperm in pre-cum. We love to tell high school students that there's sperm in pre-cum. And we do this because teachers think that somehow if they tell you this will stop you from ever trying to use the withdrawal method. Because the problem with pre-cum is not the pre-cum, it's what comes after the pre-cum, which would be the cum, which does have sperm in it, right? So the whole function of pre-cum is to sweep the urethra. It's a super effective mechanism. None of us would be here if we didn't have pre-cum. So let's all be thankful that there's pre-cum. There's words I never thought I'd say. So pre-cum sweeps the urethra, gets rid of the acidic urine that may be left there, and then makes way. It's like a welcome wagon. Come on, semen, come on down, be happy. So adolescent boys are notoriously not great at knowing what the timing is between the pre-cum and the actual cum, right? So instead of spending time talking to adolescent boys about, did you know you can work on this? You can think about this. You can figure this out. You can understand what it feels like. You can manage your erections. Instead of doing that, we just say, there's sperm in pre-cum. If you come anywhere near a wet penis, you're gonna get pregnant. No, you're not. Okay, so 2 more, quick. Another one. Sex with a condom feels exactly the same as sex without a condom. No, it does not. It can feel better than sex without a condom. Emotionally, it can feel better because you can feel safer. It can be an act of love. It can be a gesture of protecting one another. It can also be a point of immense frustration, right? As you put it on backwards in the wrong way, and then it flings out of your hand and flies across the room and lands in cat hair, right? So I've heard. You can get better at using condoms. That's what we don't tell you in sex ed, which we should be telling you. Just like crossing Comm Ave. You know when you're a freshman, you cannot figure out how to cross Comm Ave for the life of you, right? Like you dither, you dather, you go up and down, you like go into Starbucks because you can't deal. Like you're trying to figure it out, right? Well, by the time you're a junior, you're like, I got this, right? You're like watching, you know exactly how to time it, right? Especially if it's raining, like you totally have it timed. Same with condoms. You'll get better at it the more you use them. So try them out, practice, try them at home. Don't try them in front of her for the first time, right? So give yourself a little bit of time. Okay, last but not least, your sexuality is something that you should be absolutely terrified of and you have no control over it. No. You have absolute mastery and control over your sexuality, and you should feel awesome about it. And if you don't, there is something else going on, and we can help you figure that out. There are people out there who can help you sort through that stuff. It's a gift. It's an amazing gift. And it can be the funnest and most awesome way to talk to somebody about love, to show that you love someone. Sometimes you don't even have to love them. You can just have a lot of fun, right? There's a lot of different ways to express it. It should feel like a gift. It shouldn't be something you're scared of. And you also do have control of it. One of my fears about the lies that they tell you is that somehow they're telling you that you have this caged animal inside of you, right? And it's your job to just keep it locked in there and never let it see the light. I want to see the light. I want to see all of the light in all of you. I want you to feel like you get to have really fun, awesome sex here at BU. I do, I really do. But I also want you to take care of yourselves, and I want you to be safe and careful. Thank you. So I'm happy to take any questions, or we can just keep going and then do questions at the end. No one's going to ask the crazy sex lady questions. Yes.
Do you think oral contraceptives are always a poor choice for women, or do you just think that most young women aren't aware of viable alternatives so they can bind oral contraceptives?
Oh, that's a great question. I don't think I shouldn't be in a position to judge for like every single person. I just think there are so many better alternatives out there that provide higher efficacy, so they do a better job preventing pregnancy, and they're less intrusive in your daily life. So the things like the NuvaRing, which is a contraceptive slow-release hormone that sits at the back of your cervix, and you don't really, you put it in, take it out once a month. It's like not a big deal. It's super easy. IUDs are actually really great contraception for young women, which, it's not your grandma's IUD. Now you're all like, I just don't need that image in my head. But, IUDs now are really well, tested. They're much safer than they were. So it's more like I just feel like we sort of have stuck young women in 2013 with birth control from like the 80s. And that's not fair. Like, you should have a birth control method that works with your life. So do you want to pay attention to it when you're having sex, right? Like, do you want to have to think about it? Do you want to have to think about it once a month? Do you want to have to think about it once a year? I mean, there's just a lot of other options out there. And what I hate is like, the pill is like the holy grail of birth control, and it isn't. Now, if you're using the pill and it's working really well for you, God love you, right? Like, don't stop. But for so many young women, it isn't working well. And then they get pregnant, which is the natural consequence of the pill not working, right?
I have a question about the pre-cum Wait 1 second.
If you're going to talk about pre-cum, it has to be recorded.
So I have a question about the pre-cum lie.
Yeah.
So the lie usually is that there will be, like, perhaps if a person has come recently, that there will be sperm already in the urethra
Right.
that will be swept down.
Right.
So that's just a lie.
So,
I'm just confused.
okay. So, we have to talk about sperm biology a little bit. So, and it's really interesting. There's like, it's very hard to talk about sperm without using military analogy, which is really unfortunate, right? So it's like the troops are coming out of your penis. So it's really weird. So sperm are hilarious. They are. Google it. They're really, really funny. But so, like, some of them are born without a tail, or the tail falls off, or they have two tails, or like they swim the wrong way, which I think is hilarious. Like, so they're like on this mission. They're like, oops, wrong way. So everything in the human body, from the vagina from the vulva to the vagina to the cervix to the way the fallopian tubes are shaped and the little tiny little hairs that are tiny little hairs that line the fallopian tubes. Everything is like rooting for the sperm, right? That it will get swept up into the uterus and then up into the fallopian tube. But in order to accomplish that, most studies have shown you need like a critical mass of sperm to protect the lucky sailor, right? That's in the middle of the pack. So So is it theoretically possible that you could become pregnant from pre-cum? Absolutely. It's theoretically possible. But it's a lie because it's not having the much more important conversation, which is about, are you talking to each other? Do you know what it feels like when you get an erection? Do you know what it feels like when you're going to ejaculate? Like, not to be a creep, not that I haven't already, but like, you should know that. Like, men should know that. They should know what that feels like. They should know how to work with that, if you will, right? So, but we don't tell adolescent boys, you have this cool, awesome thing that like does all this crazy stuff, and like get to know it, like become friends. We just don't say anything. So every year, like, not to be morose, but every year, 9-year-old boys show up in their pediatrician's office and tell their pediatrician they think they're gonna die because they ejaculated at night. And no one told them, you're gonna have this thing, it's called a wet dream. You didn't do anything wrong. There's nothing that you did that made that happen or not happen. And I think about 9-year-old boys in their pediatrician's office thinking that they're gonna die, and that just breaks my heart. Like, why aren't we talking to young men about that? So it's sort of part of a bigger conversation. I'm gonna cut us off. I'd love to talk more, and I will, but I wanna be respectful of time. Thank you.